A note to listeners, the following podcast contains content that may not be suitable for all audiences.
I kind of met Colt in the lifestyle that I used to live. We were actually dating when he went missing. So it was a very strange time. Like I've been around Colby, I've been around Con, I've been around Jesse, I've been around Rob and Jason Dillard, God forbid, and a lot of other people. And it's just crazy how you know all these people and then nothing is ever said, nothing's ever done. I actually remember dropping Colt off there was a man in a white truck and Molly was in the middle seat, and I dropped him off with them, and that was the last time I ever seen him. I've always been told by other people that it was supposed to have been me and not Molly, that Molly was wrong girl, wrong place, wrong time.
You are listening to Partners in True Crime. We are your hosts, Rob and Cindy Dorfman. Hi, everyone. If you're enjoying the podcast, please leave us a review wherever you listen to your podcasts, even if it's one word.
And please subscribe to our website, www.partnersintruecrime. Follow us on TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram to check out our weekly promos. We're also now on YouTube at Partners in True Crime. If you subscribe to our website, you'll be getting weekly emails from us and all kinds of promotions and things that we don't advertise on the podcast. When Colt and Molly went missing, a lot of people assumed that they were dating. But the truth is that Molly and Colt had only known each other a short time before the car chase.
When Colt disappeared, he was actually dating a woman named Stormy McPeak, and she has not spoken publicly until now.
At the time of Molly and Colt's disappearance, Stormy was entrenched in the local culture. She knows the players very well, and she spent time with Colt's family looking for him. Let's hear what she has to say.
We're very pleased to have on the podcast someone's name who you've heard before in the podcast, but we haven't really talked to her and heard from her. Her name is Stormy McPeak, and she plays a unique role in this whole case because she was around a lot of those people. So that when Molly and Colt disappeared, she knows all these people pretty much intimately and knows everything about them. So I'm really happy for you to be on the podcast. So first off, Stormy, just tell us a little bit about yourself so we know who you are and who you are.
I used to live a very bad life, but I've turned my life around and I just work all the time. That's all I do.
Well, that's wonderful. And you grew up, tell us a little bit about where you grew up and how you met Colt.
I grew up in Lone Grove, Oklahoma, and I kind of met Colt in the lifestyle that I used to live. We were actually dating when he went missing. So it was a very strange time. Like I've been around Colby, I've been around Con, I've been around Jesse, I've been around Rob and Jason Dillard, God forbid, and a lot of other people. And it's just crazy how you know all these people and then nothing is ever said, nothing's ever done. Like nobody talks about it. Everybody talks about everything, but nobody talks about that.
Wow. So when Colt went missing, what happened? What did you do? Did you contact police or did you talk to his family? Did you go looking for him?
Yeah, I contacted Monique. Me and her actually went driving around to people's places, like their houses, like on Pike Road, Oswald Road, Long Hollow. I took her everywhere with me. We were asking people questions, demanding answers and stuff like that. We tried so hard to just figure out answers. So I saw a post that she posted about Jesse. I'd never heard her say anything about Jesse before until I seen that post.
So Jesse was never brought up as a possible suspect in this?
No, and I even hung around Jesse and Colt together, so it doesn't make sense. Okay, if it was about a girl, why would he wait to do something to him? And then where does Molly fit into that? That just none of it even makes sense to me.
Right. So when you saw Jesse and Colt together, what was their relationship like?
They loved each other. They were brothers. Like they had that brother bond.
And Jesse never showed any kind of like anger towards Colt or that he would hurt him or?
Never. Never. And I'm just sitting here trying to think of like even a time where they might have even like argued like as brothers or something, and that never happened.
What did Colt think of Jesse? How did Colt feel about Jesse? Because it sounds like Colt had a tough childhood.
Colt really didn't have anybody. I mean, we were like Bonnie and Clyde, you know. Me and him, we went everywhere together. We did everything together. And I wish I never left him that day. I wish I never left him. And I'll take this. I'll take this to my grave. I promise you, Jason Dillard had something to do with it.
Really? Why do you think that?
Jason Dillard's an evil person. Jason Dillard has done some very evil things to me, to other women. He's very known to rape women, to drug women, to do all these things to women, and I am a victim of that.
I'm so sorry.
And Colt told me to get out of town because Jason kept coming around me, and he kept threatening to take me. You know, I mean, he would take me against my will. Like, I mean, I could tell you stories, and you'd be like, how is that even possible? And I wouldn't be able to talk to you about it now if I hadn't done counseling sessions on counseling sessions on counseling sessions because of this. But he told me to get out of town, and he was going to take care of it. And that's the last time I ever seen Colt.
When was that?
It was a day or two before July 4th.
So it was basically a few days before they went missing.
Yes, that's the last time I ever seen him. And let me tell you something, Colt and I loved each other. I will take that to my grave. And like me and Colby, he was my best friend. He was my best friend, and me and Colby even went to the cops to talk to the FBI together.
Colby Barrett?
We talked to the cops together and everything, and, you know, I haven't talked to him since I got out of prison. We were at the halfway house together, and I haven't talked to him since then. But I always had Colby's back because the night of the chase, like, okay, I was calling Colt, and he wouldn't answer. And you want to know who answered his phone?
Who?
When I called him?
Who?
Was Rob Nichols. And Rob Nichols told me, Colt's busy right now. He can't talk.
Was that the night when they went missing?
I think it was that day.
So-
You would have to pull the phone records because I can't really quite remember the exact time. But I had called Colt's phone, and Rob answered the phone. And that was the last time his phone was on for me to call.
And Rob Nichols said what?
He said that Colt was busy and he couldn't talk right now. I didn't talk to Colt. I mean,
so the last time,
it's hard.
Let's just back, because we're just trying to get the timeline correct here, because for everybody. So basically, the last time you spoke to Colt was before July 4th, 2013, and
Yes.
he would advised you to get out of town because Jason Dillard was looking to hook up with you, or maybe throw himself on you, or
He was trying to hurt me again. Yeah. That's what he did to women. I'm not the only girl he ever did that to. It's very evil, man. Jason Dillard would beat the crap out of his girlfriend. So he would beat on her in my vehicle, like he would pull her hair and punch her, and like he would steal my vehicle to go try to find her in the city, and like he would just take me captive for days, and there's no way I could get away from him. He took my phone.
Did you ever report this to the police?
Yeah, I did. Nothing happened because you know why? He was a CI, a confidential informant. And what he would do is he would get dope from the cops. I've seen this with my own eyes. He'd get dope from the cops. They'd meet him on a side road in the country. And he would take that dope and he would sell it. But what he did before then is he would cut it, keep some out for him, and cut it with like some weird like rock salt stuff and I don't know, all different types of salt. And he would mix it and keep the good stuff for him and sell the bad stuff to other people.
But you said he was so I want to back up a little bit. So when he did attack you, you went and reported this to the police?
I had to run away barefooted from the Wilson Casino out of my own truck that I was borrowing from a friend to get away from him. And I had someone pick me up. All I had was my phone. I didn't even have my shoes. And it took me, I was so terrified of this man, it took me a long time to report this, but they didn't do anything to him.
What police department did you report this to?
I reported it to Ardmore.
How long had you been dating Colt before he went missing?
I would say about 4 or 5 months.
Okay. And then just to make everyone understand, because we've always said this and we've always felt that Molly kind of was infatuated with Colt, but they weren't really dating.
No, I actually remember dropping Colt off there was a man in a white truck and Molly was in the middle seat, and I dropped him off with them. And that was the last time I ever seen him.
Do you remember who was in it?
I've always been told by other people that it was supposed to have been me and not Molly, that Molly was wrong girl, wrong place, wrong time.
Who told you
Now,
that?
whether I believe that, a lot of people.
Why did Jason Dillard have such a thing to come after you? I mean, I know he did Jesse wrong. He tried to pin trafficking on him.
Yeah, he's psycho. He's a psychopath. He's a complete psycho.
And what's his relationship with the NIP people?
See, I don't know. I don't know.
What about Joe?
They're all crazy.
And Joe Russell?
Hold on. Let's back up a little bit. Because earlier, before, you said that you saw Jason Dillard. He was a CI for the local police there.
Uh-huh.
And so he would coordinate and work with them to try to bust other people.
Yeah. But he also took it for himself too. Like he was doing what he wanted to stay out of trouble and to get what he wanted, and like it was like a power thing. That man's a power thing.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about Colt? One of the biggest things with this case is that we haven't had a lot of people tell us what kind of person he was. We've had, Katie came on and a little bit from Jesse, but I'd love to hear what your thoughts about him are.
Colt was loving and supportive and protective, and he'd do anything for anybody. He'd give the shirt off his back if someone needed it. No questions asked. I don't understand why anybody would want to hurt him.
How did you meet him? Or when did you meet him? How long before this happened?
Well, we were together for about four-ish months. Time kind of, when you're on drugs and stuff, it kind of, I don't know how to explain it. One day it will feel like a week will feel like a day. It's just, I don't know, but we were inseparable. And we hung out all the time. Like if there was a night that we didn't spend together, we were right back to each other at that very next morning. We went to a lot of places together. I remember the first time that him and Con hung out after the Katie thing.
Mm-hmm.
I was with, because Katie Savage was with both of them.
Yeah.
And I was with Colt when that happened. I was like, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I don't know, we went and we rode together, and I think Colt went and applied at this job at a Jiffy Lube place in Ardmore, I think, or a mechanic place in Ardmore. And Con was with us. I mean, it was okay. Nothing bad happened whenever we was all together, but I don't know. For me to see Jesse doing anything over a girl whenever the person that I think would do something was over Katie Savage, because there was a lot of beef between the two of them for a long time.
Between Con and Colt?
Mm-hmm.
That's what we always thought was strange, because we knew that there was a lot of tension between Con and Colt over Katie. And why were they even hanging out?
Drugs will do weird things. They'll pull you apart from people, but it'll also bring you close to other people.
How long were those two, Con and Colt, hanging out before he went missing?
A couple days.
I mean,
it wasn't a long time. I'm saying maybe like 2-3 days.
That was the first time they started hanging out, was a couple of days?
Yeah, I picked Con up in my car with Colt. They had been communicating to one another. I said, "Are you sure you want to do this?" Because like I said, I was very good friends with Colby. Colby was like my best friend, and he lived out there with Con. Con is crazy. I really didn't hang out with Con. I think there might have been one time I hung out with him without Colby, but I didn't ever feel like I wanted to just hang out with Con by myself. I always got a weird vibe from Con. And Con was abusive to animals. And I can't handle that. I can't.
In what way? In what way?
He would beat his dogs, his hog hunting dogs. He would beat them. He would beat them. He would fight chickens. He's just an evil person.
So when Colt told you he wanted to meet up with Con, that was only a few days before they went missing. Why did he want to meet up with him?
I don't know. I don't know.
But you recommended against it?
I was like, "Are you sure you want to do this?" He was like, "Yeah, it'll be all right." And I was like, "Are you sure?" Are you sure? Because Con's very well known to be irrational behavior 24/7. You never know. I didn't like him sitting behind me. I would always, whenever I was around him, I'd have him sit catty corner to me in the back seat, because I didn't and I dang sure didn't leave my car keys around where he could take my car for a joy spin. You gotta be careful. We've always had to be careful around Con. You always had to be careful around him.
Did he ever talk about being able to get away with things like other people wouldn't?
No, but he just had an attitude that you don't mess with him.
Got it.
Yeah. I didn't, like I said, I didn't really dig in deep with Con. I don't know. Like I said, Colby was my friend.
So in the days leading up to, when was the last time that you saw Colt?
The last time that I saw Colt, I dropped him off in a white truck with a male driver, Molly in the middle seat. And I watched him get in that truck right by the Wilson Casino. That's the last time I ever seen him. It was the day I took that picture of me and him.
Oh. Do you remember what the person that was driving in the truck looked like?
Yeah, I just can't remember his name.
Dark hair, light hair?
Was it Bobby Williams?
No, it wasn't Bobby Williams.
The dark hair, light hair?
He was skinny. He was country boy.
Country boy.
Yeah.
And it was a white pickup?
Mm-hmm. And I've reported all this stuff to the police. I remember the cops like surrounded my Nana's and Papa's house in Lone Grove because they couldn't find Colt and Molly, and they were wondering where they were, and they wanted to talk to me. And my Nana had called me and says, "Hey, there's a lot of cops here looking for you." And so I was like, "Okay, what is it about?" And I'm like, "I don't know, get here." So I got there, and they were just asking me like, "When is the last time that you seen Colt?" And I was like, telling them everything. I don't know. It was so crazy because they knew that we had went to that place where Colt applied for a job. And they said that me and Con and Colt were together, and I said yes. And I just told them everything, and then there was nothing. And then I'm like, okay, what's going on?
Do you remember which law enforcement agencies questioned you about that?
I don't want to say exactly because okay. I talked to the FBI, I talked to OBN, I talked to Armor Police, I talked to everybody that I could.
Got it.
And I made it very well known. In hindsight, 2020, I wish that I wouldn't have made it very well known that I was going to tell anything that I found out to him. I wish I would have stayed undercover, like not said anything and maybe might have heard something, because everybody knew that no matter what I did, if I found out something, I was telling. And I made it very clear. I'm going to find out what happened.
In those early days, were you talking to Colt's family about what had happened?
I reached out to Monique. I don't remember exactly when I reached out to her. I don't want to be very specific on dates because this was such a long time ago. But me and her reached out to one another and we communicated. And Monique and I actually traveled together down Long Hollow Road, down Pike Road, down Oswald Road. We would show up to people's houses asking questions, and we would drive by Joe Russell's house, and we would drive with the windows down, seeing if we could hear anybody screaming or crying or anything at all, putting ourselves in danger, honestly, just looking for something.
What made you go by Joe Russell's house? What motivated you to do that?
There's always something going on at Joe Russell's house. There was always something going on. We were hearing from so many people. We just wanted to fix all ends, like he called off the chase. Well, why did he call off the chase? Everybody was wondering. I remember hearing this on the scanner when this happened, and Joe Russell came over that scanner and says, "Go ahead and call it off," or whatever he said. He called.
Right. So why did he do that? That's always been the question.
I have no idea.
Exactly.
It's not the first time he did it. And what's crazy is Joe Russell would let his son Willie drive his truck around, his sheriff's truck. And he would follow me. He would follow me in his dad's truck, Willie would, and he would pull me over like, "Hey, I got some, stuff for you." And I'm like, okay, like I'm too scared to tell him no, like what if he's gonna have his dad do something to me while I'm in town, like pull me over, take me to jail. What do I do with it? So I would just take it. I would never do it because I was too scared that he was gonna drug me or something. Or I don't know. It all sounds like totally crazy, but it's true. And people that I were with were like, why are you meeting up with the sheriff's son, and why is he giving you I said, listen, I don't know. I said, what do you want me to do? Like, what would you do? Put yourself in that situation. What would you do? These people are known to be crooked. These people are known to get away with things. Joe Russell was known to have a meth lab at his house several years ago, that he was cooking dope out there. I mean, this town was so crooked and crazy, and like when you're in it, you can't get out.
Did Monique ever say anything to you about Jesse being involved in any of this? Did anyone mention Jesse as being involved in this?
Absolutely 100% no. Absolutely not.
What did you knew Jesse, what did you think of him?
Anything bad ever, feeling, vibe, conversation. He was always pleasant to be around. I mean, he would always just kind of venture off and do his own thing, but he would always make sure his brother was okay.
That's the thing.
I was around both of them together, and it was nothing but brotherly love.
They never fought or threatened. Jesse never threatened him about anything in front of you?
No.
When you were questioned by the police, and you don't have to give me specifics, but I just want to know, did they just want general information? How deep did they dig in with you?
I feel like they just listened to me because I was very consistent with them about anything and everything. I wanted to tell them, I told them everything. I just don't feel like they cared. And that may not be true for every single one of them, but I just don't feel like the extent of their searches, their conversations, their anything that they did, that it wasn't enough. They didn't care because it was drug involvement or something. And if they weren't catching anyone with drugs, they didn't care. Or I don't know why I feel that way, other than the way that I was treated. I don't really care. I was just trying to bring them home.
Yeah.
And then everyone was like, oh, well, Colt and Molly were dating. And I was like, no, they weren't, because I dropped him off with her and another guy. Like, it wasn't. And he told me that she was going to be there, but I didn't think anything of it bad or anything like that. Like, I don't know. It just wasn't, I don't understand.
Yeah. How long after they went missing were you, that whole incident happened where they questioned you?
Oh, I stayed in touch with them as much as possible.
No, I mean, like, after when Molly and Colt went missing, how long after was it that the law enforcement questioned you?
Oh, no, they just surrounded my house and was wondering, they were just seeing if Colt was with me. And they were asking me when last time was that I saw him. All the other times was effort on my end. It was me trying to contact them. It was me trying to reach out to them. They didn't reach out to me.
When did they go to your Nana and Pop's house?
They went to my Nana and Papa's house. Oh, had to have been a day or two after the chase.
Okay,
so they did go right away. Okay.
I don't want to be very specific, like I said, because it's
sure,
but it was early on.
It was early on.
Yeah, and I don't want to like give any like false if I don't know the definite answer.
That's
to something.
fine. Early on is enough. I mean, you know,
yeah. And tell us a little bit about Colby Barrick, because we don't know anything about him. His name has been around this case from the beginning.
Yeah. We've
heard of it. We don't know him. We've never spoken to him.
Yeah. So we've tried to reach out to him. Actually, right when we did the television show, he was actually the first person we reached out to. He was actually in prison for, I guess, a weapons charge, and I wrote him a letter because his name kept getting thrown about. And when your name gets thrown around in a case, the first thing we want to do is we want to at least give those people the opportunity to hear their story.
You know, I've stood up for Colby the entire time. That man has cried to me about how he just doesn't know anything, and he wished that he did so he could clear his name. But you got to think, he was living out there with those people.
Yeah.
You know, I hate the situation. I hate it all because I still consider Colby a friend, and it sucks because he's not a bad person. And I want to believe that he honestly doesn't know anything. And I can see how if Con was to ever get caught, he would try to blame it on him.
Why?
So Con wouldn't have to go to jail. So Con can get away with everything. And
why would he?
Colby doesn't have anybody. Colby doesn't have anybody. That's all that he had. I haven't talked to him since I seen him when I got released from prison, and we were at the halfway house here in Oklahoma City together. It was the last time I spoke with him. And when I spoke with him, and if he's listening, I'm sorry for putting this out here, but he was terrified. He was terrified that something was going to happen. And whenever he said goodbye, he left me his blanket that he had there. And he said, it was good to see you, Stormy. Like, it was a farewell goodbye. Like, I'm never going to see him again. And I haven't. So I know that he thinks about it. I know, like, me and Colby actually went and talked together, because when I was talking to the law enforcement about the situation, they wanted me to get Colby to come in and talk, and because I was adamant Colby had nothing to do with it. Nothing. You know, like, he would tell me that's my best friend and everything, and I'm sorry.
It's okay.
It's all right. Well, we've heard similar stories about Colby and how he wasn't thrilled about Con's actions. And
no, he never was. He always he was always involved when he wasn't trying to be involved. And, like, I don't know, this is all really hard for me to talk about because so many people's lives are affected by this.
Yeah.
And there's no closure for people that love Colt and Molly. And, you can try to push it back and not think about it, but it's always going to be there. Like, what if I would have just stayed? Like, what if I didn't leave? Like, I feel like some of it's my fault because I left.
You can't say that.
No, it's not your fault.
It's nowhere near your fault.
In those days leading up to Colt and Molly's disappearance, what was Colt telling you? Was he telling you to leave, or was he worried about you?
He was worried about me because of Jason Dillard and the things that he had done to me before. And he kept coming around where I was trying to take me again. And he told me he was going to handle that.
Colt did.
Yes. And he told me to leave. And he would call me when I could come back. I'm telling you, Colt was protective of me. He was very, very, very protective of me. Nobody disrespected me when I was with him. Nobody did. I mean, and Colt was tough. Like, nobody wanted to fight him because he's tough. He was tough. And if anybody needed to, like, win against him, it would have to take more than one person.
Yeah.
Well,
How tall was he and how much did he weigh?
It wasn't even really that. Is that, he's pretty stocky,
Mm-hmm.
He had muscle, and he was quick, and he went, he lived that lifestyle.
Yep.
And he was known for being tough. And he didn't get mad. I saw him get mad one time. And I could tell you this right now, if I was a guy, I wouldn't want to fight him. Nobody did. Everybody respected him. We went to Rob Branch's house. We went to see Colby down Long Hollow. We seen Con. Everywhere we went, he just had this, like, where people respected him, or they were scared of him.
He had presence.
It was just that, and it wasn't that he was like an intimidating person, like to be mean or ugly. It's just the way that he carried himself. He was very confident, but he wasn't cocky at the same time. He was just an amazing person.
Wow. Well, that's what we've heard.
What was his relationship like with Rob Branch?
Business.
Yeah, because we were told, Jesse told us that he had a key to Rob Branch's house.
I heard that. I never knew that. But I didn't like to get involved in the things that the guys would talk about. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I was just there. But I didn't know that.
But from your perspective, it was a business relationship.
Yes.
So when you dropped him off at the casino that night, that was how long before he went missing?
It was a day or two before the chase.
So that must be the photo that we have of the...
Mm-hmm.
And what was he doing? Was he going to meet someone, or?
He didn't tell me. He told me to get out of town. He would call me. I didn't know anything.
He told you to get out of town because he was worried?
Because of Jason Dillard.
Were things like escalating before that?
What do you mean?
Well, it's like before he told you to get out. What I think you told us earlier that you were getting, there was some pressure that was coming your way through Jason Dillard. And
Jay kept finding me and following me again. And he showed up. He actually, I want to say, now mind you, this has been a long time. I want to say he showed up to Rob Nichols' house looking for me. It was in that area. It may not have been Rob's house, but it was in that area. And Colt was there, and he's like, "Oh, hell no. What are you doing here? What's your problem? Because she ain't going nowhere."
So you think it's possible? I mean, the night that they went missing in the phone records, obviously no one called Jesse because Jesse didn't even have a phone. Did he?
No, I know Jesse didn't have a phone. I know for a fact he didn't have a phone because we would hear from other people where he was to locate him. And that was hard to do because when he went missing, he went missing.
Yeah, he didn't have a phone or a car or a place to live.
Yeah, no, like you never knew where he was. Like he'd be there and then he'd be gone, and then you might see him a few days later.
So when Colt went missing, did anyone hear from Jesse or talk to Jesse, or did you see him? Or
I don't believe so because I heard that he went to jail because I know that he stole a motorcycle.
Yeah, but it wasn't the same time. I think it was later.
That was a little later.
But either way, I mean, are you surprised that Monique is kind of throwing Jesse under the bus here, trying to say that he's responsible for this?
And why?
Very surprised, because when her and I were communicating back and forth and she was riding with me and we were going all these places, his name never got brought up. So I don't know where this is coming from. I don't know what happened. I don't know if she just wants to close this out. And I'm sure I'm going to get backlash from this too. And that's okay, because I know who I am, and I know what I'm doing is the right thing. But I don't know why she would do that.
Yeah, it seems kind of, I mean, because
It's very strange.
it just came up too. It's not like something that's happened.
And then I read a post, something about how her brother did something to her or whatever, and all that. And I'm like, what? And the whole thing with like me and Colt or whatever, like I knew he had a sister, but he didn't talk about her. You know what I mean? Like he talked about his brothers, Dove and Jesse.
Or what is Dub like?
Oh, he's great. He's pretty chill, laid back, very similar to Colt. I think he's a little bit more even-tempered when it comes to things, just because, I don't know, he's just a little more chill.
And what about Jesse? What's he like?
Jesse's actually very funny. Him and his brother were always laughing and cracking jokes, just like how brothers do. But he was spontaneous, I guess. I don't know. He's just really random, but in a good way. That's why I don't understand Colt's family. The only family he did have was his brothers, and his sister, yeah, but I mean, I didn't really hear very much about her. I heard about his brothers. We hung out with his brothers. We didn't hang out with his sister. Which, I mean, lifestyles may have been different, whatever, I'm not discrediting anyone's relationship with their family. I'm just saying what I encountered being with Colt myself.
And in those, when you guys were searching, what was some of the thoughts that you had? Did you and Monique talk about what could have happened? Did she say?
We were very scared going on Long Hollow Road. We cried a lot anytime we went down that road, and we rolled our windows down to listen to see if we could hear anything.
What made you go down to Long Hollow Road?
It's the last place they were, supposedly. There's a lot of land out there. I'm telling you, I was best friends with Colby. Okay, Colby and I and friends, we would, go out there and we'd go hunting and we'd ride 4-wheelers and, other things. And there's just a lot of land out there. There's a lot of land out there.
Do you think if Colt was hurt that he would have just laid there and died of exposure?
No. I told you he was tough, and I mean that.
Jesse said the same thing. Mm-hmm. That he would have dragged himself to the road.
Yeah, Colt's not an idiot. Something happened, and it was more than one person. It had to have been, because I'm telling you this right now, Colt's tough. And he would have protected Molly at all costs, because he don't believe in men hitting women. He did not believe in that at all. He was so protective over me. You have no idea. Like, I felt safe around him. I felt loved by him. I just felt happy with him. Even though we were doing bad things, he still took care of me, made sure I was okay, made sure we were safe, that we had everything that we needed.
Well, it's interesting you say about that he didn't like if men hit women. That's why we found it very hard to believe that him and Con were hanging out, and they had dated the same woman, and we heard it from Katie Savage what Con used to do to her. So that makes sense.
Yeah, and Katie's not lying about that with Con, because I think I've seen that myself, if I recall correctly, long time ago. Because she was dating Con, the way he was treating her when was crazy and made me very uncomfortable. How he was being to her.
You think people are afraid of Con?
Yeah, and the ones that aren't are stupid. I keep seeing all these Facebook profiles of Con Nip come up on the suggested friends list of things, and I seen a picture of him with this girl, and I was like, oh, honey, run as fast as you can. I don't know who she is. I don't know anything, but it just scared me for her, and I don't even know her, and she's a complete stranger.
The night that they went missing, we had heard from multiple people that there was like a party that night. Did you know anything about that?
No. This is the first I'm hearing of it.
Okay. There was a lot of people saying that there was a party out there, and a lot of
Out
people
where?
out in the field near where the car was.
Either before or after.
I don't. I don't.
Because one of the reports, the police reports we saw, there were several people who apparently were at this party, and then they all scrapped their Facebook accounts for that weekend.
because Con had come and had said that he had done something to Molly and Colt.
If Con did it, he didn't do it by himself.
No.
Well, we agree there. We don't believe this was done by one person.
No.
Even if
What's crazy is when I came back into town, Jason Dillard was in town looking for me again. He was there in that area. And what's crazy to me also is that he is in jail right now, federal prison, apparently. Why is he so protected? How does he get to do all this stuff to females and stuff and get away with it? How? How does this happen? How does this man get to do all these things to these people and not get any repercussions for the things that he has done? It takes a lot of guts for me coming on here and talking about this man, but I'm telling you, or this piece of shit. Sorry.
No, I agree with you.
And it makes you question the authorities even harder, right? Because it does me.
Or at least the people that are involved in this case.
I'm absolutely terrified to go to Marietta still to this day. I don't even live down there anymore. I don't live anywhere near those little southern towns no more. I got as far away as I could go.
Smart move.
Yeah.
It's a shame because there's a lot of good people down there. I mean, we've been down there several times and we've met nothing but nice people. And there's been there's been a lot of people that have tried to help for this case. A lot of people who put their asses on the line like you.
And I don't like spotlight. I don't like whatever. And I know my name's been bleeped out of a lot of things, and I appreciate that. But somebody needs to talk for Colt, and Molly, which Paula does an amazing job. And she catches a lot of slack too. And that's just crazy. Why would people not want to know what happened? How can you live not getting that? How can you live with yourself knowing something and not saying anything?
That's where you get into the point where silence is complicity.
Right. And now
one of the things that Con always used to say, there's no case if there's no body. That was before anything ever happened, before him and Colt hung out. Like, he would say there's no case if there's no body.
That's interesting.
I think it's interesting that the first time Colt ever hung out with him was in the days before he went missing. That says a lot. We didn't realize that. We thought it was...
We knew it was a brief time.
We didn't realize it was that quick.
Days, like 48 hours.
Something very similar, very, very similar to that. I can promise you it wasn't over a week.
Yeah, no, it's consistent of what we heard. But I mean, you would know. You were with Colt.
So what do you think Molly was involved for? You think it was just...
Like I said before, I heard that she was just the wrong girl, wrong place, wrong time. They said it was supposed to have been me instead of her. And I think that if that was true and I was still putting myself in danger after that, it was too hot for them to do anything to me then at that point. Like, it was too hot with police and stuff like that for them to do anything.
So when you talked to Colby and his name started coming up, what did he say?
He would tell me that he wished he knew. He wished that he knew something to tell them that, I'm so conflicted. I'm so conflicted because you don't understand, me and Colby, we went fishing all the time. That was my friend. He's been to my Nana's and Papa's house because I took some fishing poles of my Papa's with me and I forgot him. Well, he gave my Papa all his brand new fishing poles because we lost the ones that was his, and he shook my Papa's hand and gave him those fishing poles. Having all these images of him just being a good person, someone that I was comfortable with too, someone that I felt safe around too, that could possibly have the knowledge of something to find out where Colt and Molly was and then not say anything. It's really hard for me to believe that.
I want to ask you a question. Are you aware of the Colby's phone butt dial to the 911 operator in Love County?
Refresh my memory because I think so, but I'm not sure.
There was Colby along with 3 other guys. I can't remember their names. One of them's dead. But they were at Moxley Pond. And Colby's cell phone, whether it was an accident or whether it was intentional, based upon what you're telling me right now, it could have been intentional. Dialed 911. And it was in his pocket. And the people that he was with were talking about Molly. And then the dispatcher heard it, called Joe Russell. He told her to run it off on a disc and he would take care of it. But it's interesting. And if you haven't heard it, we can send it to you.
Yeah, I would love to hear it.
When we first heard that 911 call, our first instinct was that it was a butt dial.
So when we heard that initially, like Cindy was saying, it was very bizarre. It was like, why would his phone dial 911 from Moxley Pond, and then we could hear people talking about Molly Miller, and then also hearing a couple gunshots after that?
Well, they hunted a lot, so I mean that's Colby's thing. I mean that is quite alarming here, gunshots.
Yeah.
But I mean that is something that goes on out there. You're out in the country, a lot of people are hunting. So,
But do you think that Colby would have called 911 and put his phone in his pocket and then start to get those guys to talk about things so that he could get someone to hear what's going on?
I don't see how his phone would have called 911 any other way, if you think about it.
I think it's weird that his phone called 911. Your phone doesn't automatically call 911.
And I'm sure...
No, and it dang sure went on speed dial on his phone.
I was just going to say the same thing. That's the last 3 numbers that would be on speed dial on his phone.
So do you think he's afraid of the Nips too? I mean, isn't he involved with Jennifer Nip?
From my understanding, I just found this out that he's not with Jennifer anymore. Colby. I heard that Colby wasn't with Jennifer anymore. Sorry, I was looking at a picture of me and Colt on Facebook, and this girl, she sent me a message, and she said, I was just talking about how awfully sad it is that they more or less leave him out of missing as well. All you see is Molly stuff. I didn't know either of them personally, but it always broke my heart that he wasn't talked about much, and he had a son of his own. So this was nice to see that he isn't forgotten.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well,
this is why we had, Katie on the TV show when we did it, but we reached out to the family. They didn't want to, the only person that wanted to talk to us was Jesse.
Yep.
I mean, I don't understand any of this stuff with Monique right now. This makes no sense.
It doesn't sound like the Monique that I talked to.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
It's the Monique that I talked to wanted answers from anybody and everybody. And, I really want to know who the guy was. I don't remember his name, but Colt lived with him in Ardmore.
When?
And I don't know why he's not talked about.
When was he living with him?
The whole time me and him was together. I stayed the night there sometimes, and I can't remember his name for the life of me, and I don't know if it's like a trauma response. I block things out sometimes, not intentionally. My memory sometimes gets the best of me. So remembering his name is something I've been struggling to find for weeks. And Paula was telling me just write stuff down. And I've been trying that, and it's just not, I can't think of his name. If I heard it, I'd know it.
Was he older than Colt?
Maybe a little, but we were around the same age.
Okay. And did he live alone?
Yeah, with Colt.
Okay, so they have like an apartment or a house?
House.
And how long did he live with him?
For the whole time me and him was together. When I met Colt, that's where he lived.
So how often were you there?
Whenever we weren't doing our other stuff, we were there.
So you actually stayed over there with Colt? Okay.
Do you remember what he looked like?
He had dark hair, he was white, and I want to say his name might have started with a J, but I don't know. I wonder if Paula knows.
Would do, like you said, in an Ardmore. Do you know around the vicinity of where it would be?
Okay, so dang, I would just have to drive there to be able to tell you where it was.
Got it.
I would just have to just drive there. I don't remember the street name. I'm gonna message Paula too to see if she remembers who that was. That could help clear Jesse.
Yeah, he's not arrested right now for anything to do with this.
Well, for him,
I know he does.
And
he
that
does.
sucks because none of them have had a good family,
Well,
growing up, and she's not freaking helping.
No, and listen,
she's deterring people from looking at the right things. There's like 70-some people that liked her status, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
No, y'all don't know. Y'all don't know.
Yeah.
Because how would Molly even get pulled into that?
Exactly.
If Jesse, where does she fit into that situation? That does not make any sense.
No. Did you know Molly at all?
No.
So Molly wasn't like hanging out with Colt every day or anything like this?
No. I was with him every day.
Do you know when they met?
I don't. I think it had, I don't know. It had to have been a couple days before that day whenever I dropped them off. I don't know. Colt was very handsome. He was very good looking. So I can see how she might have had a crush on him. he was hard not to love. Very funny, very smart, very, I don't know, it's just, I just don't know how she got intertwined.
What was his dream? Did he have any dreams about getting out of Oklahoma and doing something different?
He loved his son. He loved his son. He wanted to be a dad to his son.
Did he talk about what he wanted to do in order to make a living so he could provide for his son?
He applied. He was good at working on vehicles. He applied for that job at that mechanic shop from Jiffy Lube place in Ardmore.
Mm-hmm. And that was just before he went missing?
Yeah, and we were with Con that day. And I was so nervous because Colt went inside and left me in the car with Con by myself. And I already felt awkward because them two were reconciling, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Why do you think?
Because they were known enemies for a very long time.
Why were they known enemies?
Because of Katie.
Got it. Why do you think they reconciled? Do you think it was just because of they were doing business together?
Potentially, I can't answer that because I don't know.
Because we've heard that from a lot of people. People didn't understand why Colt was hanging out with Con because they didn't like each other.
I really have no idea. I kind of, looking back now, I feel like it was all a setup.
And then Molly was just maybe inserting herself because she had a crush on Colt?
Potentially. I don't feel like she really... I feel like she was just wrong place, wrong time, too. I don't know why. I just don't know why anyone would want to hurt that pretty little girl.
Well, we do know that Molly had gotten into a fight with her mother, and so she wasn't home. She was kind of hanging out with friends and not going home.
Whenever you're young, you rebel.
Yeah.
You know, and then if they die, they could potentially be around to take your mind off bad things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as a young teenage girl.
She could have been just looking for a place to party.
Yeah, just to feel happy. And she probably felt happy being around Colt because everybody that knew him was happy around him. And I know she felt safe around him. And I know in my heart he would have protected her.
So tragic.
It's so tragic. Did he call you that night at all when he went missing?
No. I tried calling him because I had a feeling something was going on. Something was going on. This was before the high-speed chase. I called. Okay, it was before the high-speed chase because I was thinking about this. It was before the high-speed chase. I called and I was like checking on him, and Rob Nichols answered the phone. He said he was with DJ Upley, and he said, Colt's busy right now. He can't talk.
Do you know?
First of all, Colt never let anybody use his phone, and Colt wouldn't let him talk to me like that. And then when I called back, I kept calling back. No one would answer my phone. And so I go to a friend's house in Marietta, and they have a scanner, and I heard it. I called Colby whenever that was going on. Because whenever they were like, oh, he's about to turn down Oswald. Oh, he's probably going to turn down Long Hollow. I called Colby. Colby was asleep. He was asleep in bed with Jennifer. And I called and I said, hey, I think, which I had no idea that Colt and Molly were with Con. Because on the scanner, I'm just hearing that it's Con doing his dumb shit, high-speed chase stuff again. So I called Colby. I was like, hey, Con's up to his bullshit again. I think there's about to be a high-speed chase down there again. He says, oh, shit, thanks for letting me know, and hung up. I had no idea that Colt and Molly were with him, or anybody was with him.
When did you find out?
Whenever the cops were like, hey, when's the last time you seen Colt? And I'm like, I want to know the same thing, or where is he? Last time I seen him, it was me, him, and Con, and we were, you know, applying for jobs, and then me and Colt hanging out, and then him telling me to get out of town.
Yeah. So it was a couple days afterwards.
It's still shocking to me to this day. Like, what if I just didn't leave town and I stayed with him? What would happen then?
Did you leave town? Did you listen to him?
I damn sure did.
Because you were afraid.
Very afraid. Anybody that has dealt with Jason Dillard on a personal level should be very afraid of that man. Or I'm sorry, I shouldn't call him a man. Scumbag.
What was his reputation like?
You know how I said that Colt had like nobody wanted to mess with him type thing because of like respect and just like confidence and stuff like that? Well, Jason Dillard had a different type of reputation for power, a power that was untouchable because he never got in trouble. Similar to Con. I feel like Jason Dillard's worse than Con. They both hit women. Jason drugged women. Jason would drug several women at one time and would hurt several women at one time. Like, it was just his thing. I seen him shoot up in his neck and turn into a whole different person. Like, you look at, I'm sorry. I need a second.
Take your time. This is not easy. Talk about this stuff.
You could look at him. His eyes were black. He was the devil in real life. I don't know why. I don't know why people don't question him. I don't know why he's not being questioned. I don't know why his name is not out there. I do not know why he gets away with things. I do not know why. I have talked to cops about things that he has done to me, and other women have too, and he doesn't get in trouble.
And he's friends with Con?
Yes.
And Joe Russell? Is he friends with him too?
And Joe Russell, that's a bad taste in my mouth too, because I remember passing out. I was there with Willie and somebody else, and I remember who it was. It's like I said, I felt that I needed to keep Willie happy, or something was going to happen to me. I remember passing out at Joe Russell's house, and I don't know why I passed out, and I woke up and I felt weird. I felt sore. I felt I was high on something I'd never been home before. And the last thing I remembered was Joe Russell coming home, him walking in the house and hollering at Willie. And then I don't remember anything after that. And I don't remember who I was with. I know the cops have asked me about that. They've called me in. They have reached out to me for that, about Joe Russell, and asked me about that.
Were you working as an informant too?
No. If you want to consider me trying to find out stuff about Colt and Molly as an informant, yes. But like an informant with drugs, no.
But Jason Dillard was?
Yes.
And everybody knows that?
Yeah. Well, yeah, and people would still contact him. People would still buy drugs off of him.
Did you ever see Jesse hit a woman or hurt a woman, or hear Colt talk about that? Because it doesn't sound like Colt would put up with that if he thought Jesse...
No. Whenever Colt had to do something, he would leave me with his brother.
He would leave you with
Jesse.
Jesse.
If he was around, Jesse, because Jesse wouldn't let nothing happen to me, and I would get scared sometimes. I'm not gonna lie, I'd get scared, like, oh my God. He's like, don't worry, I'm not gonna let anything happen to you, I promise.
You felt safe with Jesse?
Yes, I felt safe around Jesse.
Yeah.
I felt safe around everyone except for Con and Jason Dillard. And there at the end, I didn't really feel safe around even people I considered my safe friends, like Rob and DJ. I don't know. I mean, I know, and when I say Rob, I'm talking about Rob Nichols, not Rob Branch.
Yeah, it's crazy story. You were boots on the ground there, and it's got to be hard, but there has to be, something's got to give soon.
You would think so after how many years now? And like, it's a small town. Everybody talks about everybody. Just like everybody's going to be talking about me on the podcast, and everybody's going to be talking about this and this and that, but guess what they're not going to be talking about?
Exactly. And that's the biggest problem with this whole thing, because the whole thing the Jesse theory came out after, were you ever questioned by Jackie Bates?
I want to say yes. I know that I got pulled over by someone who wasn't a cop. That's what I was telling. I was telling this to Paula earlier. I was like, I remember someone pulled me over. I want to say it was Jackie Bates. I'd have to see a picture of him. Pulled me over and was asking me questions about things. But they weren't even like supposed to pull me over or something like that. I don't know. I know that I was talked to about that whenever they were asking me about Joe Russell as well. I want to say Ethan Chandler for OBN was asking me about a non-cop pulling me over and wasn't supposed to. That was imitating a cop. That wasn't really a cop. I don't know. There was so much. When I tell y'all there was so much stuff in this town going on that y'all would be like, you only see on movies.
I know.
That aren't real. Who lets their son drive their sheriff's truck to deal dope? Who does that? How would you feel if you were a girl in the dope game and a sheriff truck is following you around and pulling you over to give you dope? What are you going to do? You going to take it? Or are you going to tell them no and to fuck off and piss someone off with that power?
Well, this person, the person who pulled you over, is that what they tried to do, or they just questioned you about the case?
No, the person that pulled me over, that was the non-cop, was just questioning me about the case.
Mm-hmm.
How long ago was that? Do you remember?
I cannot be honest and tell you an exact answer.
Got it.
Was it years ago or was it recently?
Yes. No, no. If anybody pulls me over nowadays, I'm on the phone with somebody because
Yeah.
I'm traumatized from all the crap that happened down there.
Yeah.
And so but you weren't formally questioned by Jackie Bates that you know of.
Not that I know of, not
Yeah.
like that. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure I know I was like, whenever me and Colby went and talked,
We know he's been questioned a few times, but it's
he voluntarily went with me one day to go talk to him and tell him everything he knew.
mm-hmm.
That's why I know Paula, and I know Paula. I know she believes that he knows something, but it's just so hard for me. I'm so conflicted because I believe in my heart that he doesn't. But then again, how do you not know something whenever you know if someone's walked a piece of that land that, he would set stuff a certain way. Like if a branch was moved wrong, he knew someone walked through a certain area. Like, so I don't know. I just don't know. I want to believe that he would tell me the truth, but I was so adamant about telling the cops about everything, and everybody knew I was going to find out what happened. In hindsight 2020, I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we know that
should have acted like nothing and just listened. Maybe people would have talked to me.
yeah,
You can't blame yourself, Stormy. I mean, you were young and Colt just disappeared. I mean, how scary was that? I would have been terrified.
I wasn't as much scared as I was hurt. I was the love of my life. I loved that man. I love him still to this day. I won't never go away. When I went to South Carolina, I wrote his name in the sand on the beach, and I don't know, just a lot of the reason why I stayed in addiction as long as I did. So I don't have to feel anything. I don't have to deal with anything. I didn't have to face reality a lot, and that's something that I'm having to do now. And now that I have the tools to handle that, it still gives me anxiety talking to anybody about it other than Paula or my family. But
also all the trauma that you've been through. I mean, when you're a woman and you're sexually assaulted or abused or anything, it's so traumatic, and it is such a stigma, and still in this society for women who go through that, people just want to push it away. You know, it's a lot better now with the Me Too stuff, but
it's a lot. Well, I can tell you, it's a lot easier to handle all this stuff now versus the little stuff like out in the world that's just like, this is so little. How do I handle this? Because I've handled so much big stuff. I don't know how to handle the little stuff.
But you're doing
it. So I get overwhelmed with stupid stuff I shouldn't even let bother me because I've already been through so much.
Exactly. I just want to ask you one question about you, because you touched on something with Colby, which I totally agree with, is that he knew that land like the back of his hand, and he knew if anything was disturbed or anything, he knew he would have known about it. Because we'd been on that land and down that area quite a few times, and every time we've been down there, it was almost like they had a heads up. And so we're convinced that they have cameras down there. And
there was deer cameras. But I tell you what, Con knew that land just as much as Kobe.
No, I get that. That's what I'm saying. That's why he was able to evade the cops so quickly and do whatever he did with the car, which we're not even sure if that's the right place where they ditched the car, because the car wasn't found until 2 weeks later, which is...
It's suspicious.
I mean, I agree with you. I mean, and like I said, Colby may not know anything. He may have heard stuff like a lot of other people, but that's why we wanted to talk to him initially first. Unfortunately, anybody who was associated with Con and Joe Russell and everything, it's hard to escape the questions and the suspicion. And that's why we're really confused about the whole Jesse thing. And that only came out probably a year and a half, 2 years ago. And when this guy, now the reason why I was asking about Jackie Bates, if he questioned you, because he was the one who started talking to Monique and talking to Dub and talking to Jerry Lynn, who was, I guess, on and off again who was having a relationship with Jesse.
Right. So this whole triangle of Jesse.
I never even heard of Jerry Lynn's name whenever me and him was together. I never even heard her name.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, if anyone...
My first time hearing her name was listening to the podcast and hearing that name, and I'm like, who the hell is that?
If anyone had a reason for a love triangle, it would have been Con with Katie and Colt.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, Colt had a baby with Con's ex-girlfriend. who he was
That's-
very possessive of, apparently.
Very. He wouldn't see. Con and Jason are a lot alike with their girlfriends like that. And please don't put name in this because she's gone through enough.
No,
Um,
no.
But she was abused, just like how Katie was, but by two different people.
Wow. All right. Well, I just think it's important. I mean, okay, so this was another thing Monique said, was that Joe Russell and Con Nip were good friends of their family.
I'm like, how, where, when? Because they were known enemies for years. And anybody that knew them knew that.
Well, that's why I was going to get back to this guy, Jackie Bates, was basically an auxiliary police officer. He was a retired from, and we had a pretty deep relationship with Jackie in the beginning because we felt in the beginning he was doing something right and trying to find them. He had 3 theories, and every one of his theories, he said, this is what happened. His first theory is that they died of exposure, and they're still out there. I know where they are. And then when that was kiboshed, then he's like, Rob Nichols did it. Then, when he found out that Jesse was the one who stole Rob Nichols' motorcycle, then he started zeroing in Jesse. And then he started talking to Monique and Dub and Jerry Lynn. And he kept on telling me, because he would share this information with me and Paula on a daily basis. And he goes, I'm going to arrest him. He did it. I know he did it. And I was like,
I think that Rob Nichols has the capability to kill someone? Absolutely not. Do I think that he may know something? He might know more than he's letting off, but who am I to say that? But I mean, I don't trust anybody.
Exactly.
Because I could say, well, Rob and he's turned his life around. He's doing wonderful. He's married a friend of mine that I used to hang out with, and he's doing very well for himself. Do I think that maybe sometimes, like, if somebody does know something, the guilt would override their will to be quiet and to want to say something? Yeah, but so much time has gone by, they're just as much at fault as the person who did something.
Yeah, well, I think they're all hanging their hat on because they know the bodies were disposed of, and they're thinking, well, I'm just going to keep my mouth shut. I know something that happened. I know what happened, no one's going to get prosecuted because there's no body. And
remember what Khan used to say.
Yeah, and that's what they're saying, and that's pretty much true.
No case.
Yep.
No body, no case.
Exactly. So they're all hanging their hat on, saying, well, just keep your mouth shut. This will all go away. Yeah, let everybody stir up the pot and do it. But if they don't find the body, but the only thing that's going to happen is if you get a deathbed confession from someone who actually saw it or were with people, which could possibly happen.
It shouldn't have to come to that.
But
I feel like a lot of fault is at law enforcement.
Yes. I think in the beginning they dropped the ball. I mean, the first ball they dropped is when Joe started spreading misinformation saying that they went to Wichita
Falls, Texas.
Yeah, I heard that.
And then, so that delayed any kind of thing, any kind of search or anything like that. Obviously, the fact that he stopped the chase, that delayed it. He had...
Which he knew how to delay everything because he was in law enforcement.
And he closed off the road so nobody could go down there. Wouldn't even let Molly's family.
I want to say I remember that. I do. Just bring them home. Y'all
Exactly.
Want to talk about dumb shit? Well, find out what happened.
Exactly.
Well, we can't find out what happened when people like...
Not y'all, those people.
No. But what I'm saying is that because Monique and all this misinformation about... We're going to point the finger now at Jesse. He's in jail. So that's easy. He can't defend himself.
Yeah. Yep.
That's a cop-out if I ever heard it, and I can't believe they stacked all those charges on him like that. The thing about it is people that are on drugs get more time than child molesters, and make that fucking make sense. I got 5 years federal prison time.
For what?
For drugs.
For using or attempt to distribute?
Both.
Okay.
It was federal. It was a conspiracy charge, me and I believe 8 other people. My husband at the time, he got 17 and a half years.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
So, and I mean, I think that when people are doing drugs, I think there should be some rehabilitation process first before they go to prison. But these child molesters get to go in there and get their hand held and say, oh, it's okay to have those thoughts. You just can't act on it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And then if anybody does anything to you, don't worry. We'll give them more time in prison. I was in there with a lot of them that got a lot less time than my husband at the time that I went to prison with. He got 17 and a half years. There's people in there that only got 10 or 5 or 7 or 8 years for molesting a child. So. I just feel so bad because I don't know how someone as innocent as Molly could get hurt.
Wrong place, wrong time.
And Colt too, yeah, Colt too, but like I've had to live with that. People telling me that it should have been me instead of her, and that it was supposed to have been me instead of her. And it's like, Colt was my guardian angel, but why did someone else have to suffer in my place? Why did anybody have to suffer in the first place? And whatever they did do to him, they did suffer.
Yeah.
And there's no, for why? Why? I have no idea. I know that Katie and Colin still communicated after they broke up and after she had Colt's baby. So I don't know what the reason would be. I have no idea. Your guess is as good as mine, because if it was over drugs, that's bullshit. Because the only thing I can think of, the reason it would possibly be because of a woman, and it's not because of that Jerry Lynn. It's because of the other. I mean, make it make sense. What makes more sense to you? A brother killing his brother because of some girl I never even heard of, or the known enemies for several years because of one girl that they had that much animosity for one another. They finally reconcile, and then all of a sudden something happens. Okay, now which one makes more sense?
Do you think that Con might have set Colt up, pretending he wanted to reconcile with him, and really he was trying to kill him?
Yes. I told you earlier, I was like, now looking back, I feel like it was a setup. I would go out to Long Hollow and I would hang out with Kobe after all that happened, and everything just felt so weird. The air felt weird. Kobe acted weird, but we were just both feeling like the tension. I would just listen. I would see if I could hear anything. I went out there intentionally just to see if I could hear anything out there. And crying and screaming and yelling, and I would look on the ground for stuff. And I put myself in dangerous situations looking back now, and I'm like, what the hell? Why did I do that stuff? Because I loved him. Yeah, and I wanted to find him.
You don't think about the danger when you're looking, like Paula too. I tell her all the time, my God, you just put yourself in so much danger so many times. It's just so weird that Con would randomly say to Colt they would hang out a couple of days before he went missing. It's just random.
I know. Hindsight 2020, you can look back and suspect everything in the world in that time, in that situation, and the lifestyle that you're living and the drugs that you're on.
Did Con reach out to Colt, or did he reach out to Con?
I can't remember exactly. I just know that they started communicating with one another. I knew then. Now some things is hard for me to remember. I appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
If you have any information regarding the case, please contact the BIA at www.bia.gov/BIA/missing-murder-unit.
You can also call their hotline with tips at 1-833-560-2065 and email them directly at ojs_mmu@bia.gov.
And if you want to text them with a tip, text keyword BIA-MMU and send your tip to 847-411.
Check the Partners in True Crime website for this and any additional information.
If you or anyone you know is suffering from a methamphetamine addiction, please contact the American Meth Addiction Hotline.
If you or anyone you know has been the victim of sexual abuse, please contact the National Domestic Violence Hotline. All rights reserved. This has been a production of 722 Media Content. Please visit our website where you can subscribe to the podcast, find show notes, and listen to Vi's original song, Take Me Back, written for Molly Miller.